Hello everybody, welcome back to American Textbook Reading. I'm Brian Stewart. We're in Lesson 3 of our textbook now, and in Lesson 3 we're going to be talking about home, school, and neighborhood, but specifically community. So we'll talk about what is a community, and you will discover a community has many places and helpers. So a community has many different places in it, and it also has many different people who help you live your life. Let's take a look at some of these ideas. But first, let's talk about community. What exactly is community? Community is a place. It's a place where people live, work, and play together. Think about where you live. You might live in a village, a town, or a big city. But each place has a community. A community in a village is probably the whole village, right? That's the whole village is a community. If you live in a larger town or even a big city, the city isn't a community. That's too big. You can't know everybody in the city. But you probably know everybody in your neighborhood, or you know most of the people in your neighborhood. The store that you and your mom go to, you probably know the people in the store. You go to that store a lot. The bank where you go, you probably know the bank nearby. These are places you go to. And of course, the school in your neighborhood, you know the teachers and you know the students there. They are all part of your community. So a community is a place where people live, work, play together. Work and study, by the way. So this is a good picture of a community. A community is a smaller area, right? An area where you can walk around. Not a big city, right? But a small part of the city where your house is, where there are places around for you to do things. That is your community, okay? So community is the place where you typically go and you do your business, and you play, and you work, and you live there, okay? So that is a community. What kinds of things can we find in the community? Well, we can find neighbors. A neighbor is a person living near your house. Those are your neighbors. So who are your neighbors? Think about that. There are people living near your house. Those people are your neighbors. By the way, the people living right next door, we call them next door neighbor. Next door neighbor. Next door because they're right next door, right? If you're living in an apartment building, you go out of your door, the next door over or the next door across, those are your Yapjeep Saram, right? Yapjeep Saram is next door neighbor. They're the people who live right next to you, so next door neighbor. But neighbor also can mean people who live in your neighborhood or community, right? People who live near you. They don't have to be Yapjeep Saram. They could be, what do you say, Iut Saram, right? Anybody who lives in the area of your house. Those are your neighbors, okay? Probably you know many of your neighbors. Okay, let's move on. Address. The address is the description or the very detailed numbers and words that describe exactly where you live. The details are, for example, the numbers, 150 West, 45 Street, also the names of the places where you live. So this is an address. You need to know the address of the place where you work or live, right? You guys know your address where you live, where your house is. Your parents know the address of the place where they work. If you want to send a letter or a package to somebody at their house or their office, you need to know the address, and you write the address on the envelope or the package, and the post office sends it. So an address are the details. How can I find that person's house? How can I find that person's office? I need to know the address. So what is your address? Right? Think about that. What is your address? Do you know it? If you don't know it, ask your mom. Write it down. Keep it with you. It's important information to know. Okay. We also have symbol. Now, symbol is interesting. Why do we need to know about symbols? Well, what is a symbol anyway? A symbol is a sign, a number, or a letter with a certain meaning. Take a look at these. These are symbols. Why do we need to know symbols? Because in our community, in our neighborhood, there are many places that we can find very easily by just looking at the symbols. We don't have to look at the whole word. We can just look at a picture or a number or a sign, and we can know right away, aha, that is a men's bathroom, that is a woman's bathroom. Go to the right bathroom, right? Okay, so you will know very quickly if you look at the symbol on the sign, aha, I know what that is. I know where to go. So symbols help us out by letting us know where things are very quickly. There are symbols, of course, for the bathroom, right? These are symbols for the bathroom. Where is the bathroom, right? 화장실 어디 있습니까, right? Where is the bathroom? If you see these symbols, you know right away. There are also symbols for the taxi stand or the bus stop, or perhaps you're trying to find a school. Sometimes you see a picture of a school with an arrow pointing that way. These are all symbols. They help us quickly know right away where things are. So symbols are very useful. Okay, where do we find symbols? We also find symbols on a map, right? A map is a drawing of the Earth's surface, showing the position of things, right? This can be a map. Usually when we talk about maps, we're talking about street maps. A street map is very useful because it tells you where the streets are, how they intersect, and where places are. Actually, if you look at this map closely, you can see many symbols, right? Symbols are also letters. We see H. We see some places P. H is probably for hotel or hospital. P is usually for parking. So if you're driving your car, you want to know where can I park? So you find the P, you can park there. So a map shows the different streets and it has many symbols on the map. Okay. Now, when you use a map, you need to know about directions. Directions are like north, south, west, east, right? But it can also be, directions can also be go right, go left, go straight ahead. Those are also directions, okay? So directions, the point or position, such as north, south, east, or west. So usually when we look at a map, we have north, right? North on the top, south on the bottom. On the right side, we have east, and on the left side, we have west. This is like our compass marking, our compass on a map. Compass, right? These are compass directions, because if you use a compass, it will show you which way is north, and you can figure it out. But also, directions are also right. You could say left, and you can also say straight ahead. Straight ahead. So if you're in a taxi and you're giving the taxi driver directions, you can say go right, go left, go straight ahead. Or you can say go north, go east, go west, go south. It's very important to know these directions, okay? And of course, these are street signs telling you which way you're going. If you're going north on Interstate 94 or you're going south on Interstate 94. It's very important to know which way you're going on the map so you don't go the wrong direction, the opposite direction. Okay. Now, we talked about maps, and I talked a little bit about symbols, right? But when you look at the map, right, remember we looked at that map before, and we saw sometimes there's an H, sometimes there's a P. But how do you know what those mean? On every map, there is a map key. It's like a key to understanding the map, right? The map key are the words or icons. Icon, you know icon from your computer, right? There are many icons on your computer desktop. Those are symbols too. They're symbols for the different programs that you use. Well, a map also has icons. These are like icons right here. These little pictures, these are icons, right? They show the meanings of the symbols on the map. So these are icons, they are also symbols. If we see this icon or this symbol, and remember icon and symbol are really the same thing. Oops, what did I do there? Let's do that again. Icon is the same as symbol. Okay? So these are the same things. Icon, symbol, same thing. So if we see this icon or we see this symbol, we mean that, oh, that is for school. Open book, what would that be? Of course, that's library. An H in a circle and a red square, that's a hospital. Here's a strange looking building, looks like a very old style building. That, of course, is a museum. And here, what is this? That's a fire hose, right? Wrapped around, of course, that would be the fire station. So different maps might have different symbols. Not all maps have the same symbols. You have to look at the map key, usually in the corner of the map, and you can see the symbols for that map key. And remember, different maps use different symbols, so they're not always the same. Look at the map key on the map to find the right symbol, to understand what those mean. Okay. Now here we have our chart, and we see community places. On the map key, we talked about some different places, some different symbols. What are some different symbols that you might find on a map, or what are some places you might find or use every day in your community? Of course, up here we have a park, right? A park is a very nice place where you can go run, you can play, you can throw balls with your friends, you can run with your dog in the park. Store, of course, is where you can go and buy things. A store in your community or your neighborhood is probably the store that you go to a lot. Your mother probably has a favorite grocery store. She goes there almost all the time for her certain groceries. Maybe she takes you with her. You get to know the people. If it's a small store, you get to know those people. Next down, we have a hospital. Hopefully, you don't have to go to the hospital. If you're sick or you're injured, you might have to go to the hospital. Hopefully you don't have to go, but if that happens, there's a hospital nearby in your neighborhood that you can go to. A theater. Do you guys go to the theater? Do you watch movies? If you like to watch movies in a big theater, not at home, but in a big theater, you get more sound, bigger screen, you go to the theater. Okay, maybe you go with your friends or your family. Now, of course, it's very important to go to the library if you want to read new books or you want to check out some different books. You can go to the library. They have many books to look at and to read. It's a very important place in your community. Finally, we have school. Of course, school is very important. Hopefully, your school is nearby. It's not too far away. You can walk to school, hopefully. But school, of course, is where you go every day. It's part of your community. And in fact, a school is like a small community by itself. It has students, teachers, principal, parents. All these people are drawn together for the same purpose, to learn and to study. And it forms a small community by itself. Okay? So we can talk about different types of communities, right? There's a community in which you live. There's a community in which you study. Your father's office, that's like another community by itself. So there are like different types of communities that have different places and different people depending on where we go and what we're doing, right? If we live in one place, that's our community for living. If we go study someplace, that's our community for studying. If we work in a place, that's our community for working. So all of these communities might be connected, but they are also kind of separate too. So you can have many different communities in your life. Okay, well, let's move on. Now we're going over to